Uh, we actually got pulled back in. We got pulled back in to the potential. Hey, we're right back in this thing. We got pulled back in, and it just ended the same way it's ended every single time the Wild have been in this position. 6-0 loss to the Los Angeles Kings. It was never close, and honestly, it felt like worse than 6 rock. We'll talk about it. We got 2 audiences tonight, Locked On Wild and Locked On Sports Minnesota, so let's get it rolling. The doctor will see you now.
You are Locked On Wild POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into tonight's Locked On Wild POSTCAST as the Minnesota Wild get just clapped 6-0 against the Los Angeles Kings. And Alex Micheletti joining us here tonight. Alex, I'm laughing because I'm laughing at the level of insanity it took to actually myself get pulled back in after beating the Los Angeles Ducks to get to within 3 points of a playoff spot and actually allowing myself to feel a little bit of hope that this game would go differently than the 39 other times the Wild have been in this situation. Oh, and don't worry, we'll go through all of them here tonight. It just, for even a split second, allowing myself to get pulled back in to what has just been laying in front of us the entire season. It's been teases against bottom feeder teams and occasionally sprinkling in a win against a team that is better than you in the standings. But every single time without fail, anytime this situation has come up, and it's not even a loss. It's been a laugher every time.
Yeah, it's like the Nashville game over again. Literally, same score.
I feel like multiple 6-0 shutout losses over the course of one season should probably be a bad omen. And you don't even so many different things in this game. Number one, not being ready for the spotlight in this game. That's one thing. But talking it up all day. Talking up all
a national
of these,
TV game too.
All of these games. Every single one of these games that this team has been, and it's falling behind early, getting mad about it, and just playing catch up and getting in position to be called for multiple penalties. Like we saw the penalty kill on full force again here tonight.
Yeah.
Guess what is entirely preventable in big spot games is getting thrown in the penalty box enough times to where an opponent power play is able to exploit it. And this is the same penalty kill that we've seen for the last 3 seasons. The only things that have changed is in 2021, 2022, you were like the 5th best team in the NHL in 5-on-5 goals. So you were able to outscore your problems. Super sustainable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last year, you had Vezina caliber goaltending to be able to make up for and make all the saves in those penalty kill situations. Super sustainable, right? And this year, you don't have either of those things. And instead of, you have 2 options. You have 2 options in this case. Fix the penalty kill or stop taking penalties. There are two options, and I feel like stopping taking penalties is the easier of the two.
Right, and LA was on the back end of a back-to-back too, and it didn't seem like they were bothered by the playing back-to-back nights. But the Wild just it's just the complete opposite. You can't make that up, right? And just poor Flower. I mean, I don't think a lot of it was on him, but
no, you hang a goalie out to dry for also the 90th time this season,
right?
I gotta give a shout out to, and I'll put the link in the description for this episode. I gotta give a shout out to the growing Locked On Wild Discord channel, because
I joined last night. That was fun.
We're starting to turn that into a during game hangout, and all the things that we're saying now were being said in there. But it just like it's embarrassing to watch. It's embarrassing to be thrown on national television and just be laughed off the ice.
Yeah,
And
Anita makes a good point. She said Hartsey was a mess once that first goal happened.
yep,
That seems to happen with him. Like he goes out of
whole
body.
team.
Yeah,
Whole
the
team.
whole team. Yeah, just it's. And then Marcus Johansson, just the cardio boys again. Nothing playing with Marat. Poor Marat. It's just like yeah.
I props to you for having to deal with people on Twitter wondering why you were upset that Marcus Johansson and Freddie Gaudreau were on the same line as Marat, and it's like, well,
That was
because
crazy.
we've been watching all season.
Yeah, I mean, you have a new guy on the team and a new guy to a different country, and you want to stick him with the two guys that do nothing on the team. How does that get his confidence going? How does that help him, in his NHL career? It doesn't. It's crazy that he's stuck with those guys.
Freddie Gaudreau gets the unhinged stat of the night for going 14 of 18 in the faceoff circle. And so maybe Dean Evison was hiding in John Hines all this time because he went back to Freddie Gaudreau. Then again, he probably didn't have a choice because, like, let's just cycle through the penalty minutes here. Adam Beckman got a 10 at the end of the game.
Right.
Ryan Hartman had 16 penalty minutes. He got called for 4 penalties in this game.
Unhinged, like Anita would say.
He had a 10. Mason Shaw had a 10. Zach Bogosian had a 10. Declan Chisholm got a 10 in this one tonight. And a lot of that stemmed from that scrum at the end of the game in which Pierre-Luc Dubois, for some reason, decided he was going to go try to punch Brock Faber in the face.
Yeah, that made no sense. You're up 6-0, man. What are you doing?
But that's another problem in and of itself, is that, this team, the pride gets hurt because of the result. And instead of simply taking care of the business at the beginning of the game to avoid a situation like this, you just wait till the end of the game and you play right into it. Like, it just, I don't even know where to begin with this game because it went off kilter immediately. 3-0 after 1. You're trailing 6-0 after 2 periods. You pull Marc-Andre Fleury because he didn't get any help in front of him. The power play is just a mess again. The penalty kill was awful. Like, which of these wires do you want to cut first to try to defuse the bomb? Because it feels like if you cut one, the timer's going to accelerate, and it doesn't feel like it matters at this point.
Yeah, Oppenheimer was happening in LA.
Criminy.
And it isn't ironic too that the team that the Wild need to, rely on to try to make the playoffs is to have Vegas fall apart. which is
so here's what I want. Maybe let's start with this. Here's what I want is I just want the insanity to end. I want Mark Whitaker, one of my favorite just random movies to watch all the time is the informant. Matt Damon as the executive for the biofuels company, who invents this grand scheme that there is somebody in the biofuels plant that is a mole and is poisoning the what I'm not going to get super technical, but there's a key scene at near the end of that movie where he's just continuing to try to lie his way out of this scheme that he has concocted. And his wife says, just stop lying. That's what I want. That's what I want with 12 games left to play in the season. I want the charade to end. I want the charade of thinking that this is anything other than a one and done. If you make the postseason, I want the charade to be over.
Yeah, they just get your hopes up too much. It's just like, what is this team doing? It's so, Jekyll and Hyde for sure. Again, it's just like Dallas in the playoffs last year. They get the refs just, they get in their heads and they don't know how to handle it. The adversity they take just the untimely penalties too, just at the complete worst times. And how about that goal right away in the second period when that happened? That was when the curtains were for sure.
We gotta talk about, like, I want to just give
welcome Tyler. Well,
I want to just give Tyler like a digital hug, because the Minnesota sports experience is like, we are in the full throes of it here. This season it's a team that is not capable of putting together the same level of a roster as the other teams that they're playing against. But we also have to acknowledge too, even with Parise and Suter, a lot of everything else that has happened since is a choice.
Right.
It's a full choice to go this route and to decide that this is the group that you want to hitch your wagons to. That was all a choice.
It's all on Bill Guerin. Yeah. If this doesn't work, he's toast. It's all on him. No move clauses, Gus extension. Yeah. It's just, this is all on Bill Guerin. And, there was ways to still win, even with the buyouts, and some of the moves that he's made have been great, and others have been horrendous. And you have a guy like Alex Goligoski too that I mean, he's missing in action. That was a guy he didn't need to sign. Just you have contracts that are just like, what are these guys doing on an NHL team? John Merrill and Marcus Johansson's got to be the worst out of all of them. Freddie, I don't know. Freddie Gaudreau too, because he's got 4 more years after this, which is crazy. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's painful. And the fact that Freddie Gaudreau probably wouldn't be in the NHL, except if if he didn't have Dean, if Dean wasn't the coach, he wouldn't be in the NHL. He was, he was in the AHL, and he played a little bit for Dean, and this is crazy.
I think the part that I'm honestly the most mad at is looking at the minutes disparity in a game in which you were trailing after 2 periods. 2 periods
in a must-win game.
You were trailing 6-0, and you look up at the board, and Adam Beckman got 7 minutes of ice time. 7 minutes, 35 seconds of ice time. But
how many shifts? At one point, it was 3 shifts.
He played 8 shifts in the game. Mason Shaw played 9 shifts. Ryan Hart I suppose because he was in the penalty box the whole game.
Right.
Ryan Hartman played 8 minutes, 51 seconds of
You
ice
could have
time.
rented that out tonight.
I think that's the most frustrating part for me is it's a game that you are clearly out of, and the only thing that this team knows how to do is to just keep throwing fists as blindly as they can. And you get 7.5 for Beckman. Yet Freddie Gaudreau gets 17 minutes with one shot and one hit. Granted, unhinged stat of the night, 14 out of 18 in the faceoff circle. In a game like this, that is like I keep looking at that and I can't believe my eyes that as bad as everything else went, that he was still able to manage that. But, I guess silver lining, Murat Huznadinov got a career high in ice time with 14 minutes, 32 seconds, and he did play on the penalty kill too. So that's a silver lining. That was something we were looking for.
I mean, he's getting special team, both special teams. So sure. So,
there's just so much, and this like building off of the line combinations for the game against the Ducks, that didn't work. Like there just is so much that this season has. There's so much that has been just insisted by this season that has not gone well. And I got to tell you, with 12 games remaining, I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
we have all seen all of the signs that have pointed to playoffs not being viable. Not being viable. And yet we just continue to fight to win at all costs. Winning at all costs it's a death knell for a team that is not as talented as the other teams that they're fighting. There's a reason that the Wild have not beaten Dallas this year. Right. There's a reason that the Wild have not beaten Winnipeg this year. There's a reason the Wild have not beaten Colorado this year. There's a reason that you're 3-10-2, 3-11-2 at this point after the loss to St. Louis. 3-11-2 against the Central, like the heavy hitters of the Central Division this season. Like it's just
yeah, it's I mean, and more and more debilitating injuries too. I mean, Brodin, he holds everything together back there, and without him, it just
Joel Eriksson Ek didn't even play tonight. He got a 10.
Yeah, I'm sure. I put in the chat, I was like, I'm sure he choked on some popcorn in the press box. How could that be announced? Like
Joel Eriksson Ek, 10 minutes for misconduct. Yeah,
I'm sure him and Brodin are like, I'm sure they're looking at each other like with Goligoski. That's got to be so awkward for Goligoski too. He just travels to all these games and then has no chance at playing. And I don't know, you get him in at game 82 because it's probably it for him. Yeah, it's crazy.
At this point, I really don't know.
Imagine if he ends his career just disappearing. Crazy.
So, oh my goodness. So, contrary to my belief, the Wild into tonight's game had 785 minutes of penalty minutes this season. 785. It's not even close to tops in the NHL.
No.
The Anaheim Ducks have 977 in 69 games.
Just a miserable team.
That's
miserable.
They horrendous.
I mean, watching the Ducks, they just have completely given up. I feel bad for John Gibson. I mean, he's normally one of the best goalies in the league, and he's just stuck with just horrible talent in front of him. It's just bad vibes.
Yeah, it's just it's just not great. I don't know what I don't know what to do. So I think on air production meeting, I should not have slugged half this water like right before we hopped on here. So what I'm going to do, Alex, just go ahead and read comments. I'll be back here in a jiffy.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, Shark Boy, it's crazy. You know, Colorado, they're right up there, probably gonna win the cup or pretty close. And to take them to overtime was crazy. And yeah, can you guys believe that effort on national TV too? It's just wild. Yeah, it's gotta be weird for Goose though. I mean, if this is the end of the end of the road, I don't think he ever imagined it, coming or ending this way. Yeah, it's. Imagine now his family goes to all the games and they just see him in the press box there. It's like, oop. Yeah, Duhaime. Yeah, it's crazy. How about him and Middlestead? It's just I did not have that on my bingo card of them and Parisi too, ending up in Colorado. Can you imagine if all three of those guys get a ring? Seth, I was just saying, could you imagine, Duhaime, Casey Middlestead, and Parisi getting a ring this summer? And I love that. I love that Islander fans were giving Parisi grief. There's no way he was coming back to the island. If you get a chance between the Islanders or playing with Nathan McKinnon, yeah, you're gonna take the offer from Colorado. It's a no-brainer. It's amazing.
Make it a t-shirt. 79 minutes. 79 minutes of PIMs tonight.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the LA Kings still do the Cartman voice. Let's go Kings. They've done it for years. And every time I hear Cartman's voice, I laugh every time. You'll hear it in the playoffs for sure, but it's crazy that they still do it.
Guys, you're not going to believe this. I just got a 10. I just got assessed a 10-minute misconduct penalty from here in the postcast.
Seth the enforcer tuple.
I guess. I guess I'll have my hearing probably sometime tomorrow. But
yeah, Shark Boy, it'd be really cool to see Riley Heidt make it. Get a little like Zach Benson. I know Riley's will be a year older, but to make it as a 19-year-old would be awesome.
Yeah, he could get that 9-game sample size without his contract tolling and slide on in. Yeah, Drew Eriksson-Ek and I met in Temecula tonight, and that's where I got that 10 from.
I still can't believe, and I'm sure Eck is there, and so I'm sure it's like, what is going on here?
I would have laughed so hard if I was a player that was not in the lineup and it was announced that I got a penalty. Like, I'd be sitting up in the box and I'd just be like this. Like,
I'm sure they were grinning at Aaron Sickman and
just wave.
Yeah.
Like, thanks, guys.
Okay, he didn't travel, but I'm sure. I'm sure.
I'd still do it for I do it for my living room. Like,
right. Eck is on social media, so yeah. I'm sure he'll see it, and I'm sure the boys will give him a good laugh too.
So this was obviously a disastrous game, and the postseason chances even coming into tonight were dwindling. I want to just get the definitive number, then we'll take a short pause, and then we'll come back and we'll get to comments because it is a late one. I have to gripe. I have to do the old man yells at cloud gripe, because what are you doing starting a game during the week at 9:30 Central Time?
Yeah, I don't get that with TNT. It's sometimes their decision.
We need to push for a uniform standard that Central Division teams play 8 p.m. games on the West Coast.
Right.
We need to push for that.
I feel bad for our East Coast fans. I mean, I know we have people on, in the DC area, and 10:30 start on the East Coast.
It's so gross.
On a weeknight. It's crazy. It's a school night.
The Wild deserve to win-o-meter, according to moneypuck.com, had them at 59.1%.
Yeah, they were on a back-to-back. Dave Rittich. I don't think he's Dominic Hasek in 2024.
No, he very much is not.
Crazy.
Philip Gustafson or Marc-Andre Fleury had an expected goals against of 1.56. He gave up 5. So he was negative 3.43 goals saved above expected. Philip Gustafson even was negative 0.14. What I was trying to find was how far the Wild's playoff odds will drop with a loss here tonight. And, well,
probably the opposite, Shark Boy. But, because the top 10 in this draft is just going to be amazing. If you guys look it up, or, the defensemen in this draft are going to be really, really, really good. There's a kid from the Denver University's PM. It's just, there's a bunch of good college, players in it. Let's just hope that Chicago doesn't end up with Macklin Celebrini, who's up for the Hobie Baker Award as a 17-year-old, which is just unheard of. Let's just hope he doesn't end up there. But his other choices would be Anaheim or San Jose. So it's diseased either way.
So by hovering over the Minnesota Wild, who are near the bottom.
Yes, Kieran.
Their playoff odds, had they won today, would have jumped up to 32%. Again, this is according to moneypuck.com. I know there are a couple of different options out there for playoff chances. The numbers change depending on who you go to. The Wild's playoff odds, having lost tonight, are down to 15%, 15.3%.
Shark Boy, thanks for all the comments. I'm sure you remember the last time the Wild in Vancouver played, and Kaprizov shot that last goal with 1 second. If the next time Vancouver plays the Wild, they're never gonna forget that goal, because it was so unnecessary. It was unhinged moment.
Yeah, not great. Let's tell you what. Let's pause. We'll come back. We'll get your comments, and we'll continue to change the diaper that was a 6-0 loss to the Los Angeles Kings. Other than 2 for 4 on the penalty kill, falling behind 3-0 in the first period, having your starting goaltender pulled, getting called for 79 minutes of penalties with 6 different players at the end of the game getting 10s. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play?
Yeah, that's just...
The Wild lose by a score of 6-0. More to come on tonight's Locked On Wild postcast after this. Tonight's Locked On Wild postcast is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home the win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Tonight's Locked On Wild postcast also brought to you by Game Time. Folks, the weather is continuing to stay nice, although those of us here in Minnesota, sounds like there could be some snow in the forecast this week. Anyway, we are into March, soon to be into April, which means that the Minnesota Twins will be getting things rolling here before too long. And that means that you can score some big deals thanks to Game Time on your Minnesota Twins tickets. Who doesn't want to go sit at Target Field and take in some outdoor baseball?
Yes.
Game Time can help you enjoy by offering some last-minute deals plus views from every seat in the venue. And best of all, they don't blindside you with those hidden fees. You know exactly what you're going to pay before you hit the checkout line. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
And
Minnesota Wild lose by a score of 6-0. And we continue tonight's Locked On Wild postcast coming to you from the Locked On Wild YouTube account and Locked On Sports Minnesota. Thank you to both audiences for joining us here tonight. We appreciate having you on. And we're going to get to the comments here. As we continue tonight's, let's start with this one. Because playoff hockey is unpredictable and anything can happen, St. Louis in 2019, here's the only thing that is stopping me from going down that route. There's no Binnington on this roster. Unless Jesper Wallstedt is going to come up and play the final 12 games of the season, go 12-0, not allow any goals. And it's a rotating it's a rotating wheel of pain for Wild games. It's bad goalie play. It's hideous special teams. It's slow starts. It's player injuries. It's a handful of things that just rotate. And every game, it's okay, today, this is going to be the thing that leads to the loss.
Yeah, the injuries at the worst positions too. Scott made his ROR coming back. I mean, Eriksson Ek is basically would be the ROR, and who knows with Ek, that was an awkward collision. And same with Brodin. He must have ACLs made of steel because the fact that it's not an ACL for Brodin is crazy. They very, very fortunate with that happening. There was another comment too. Would Bill Guerin be around for another coach? Someone messaged me on Twitter. And I was like, well, does Craig want to pay for 3 coaches right now? Because you'd be paying Dean, you'd be paying Hines, and then you'd be paying the new guy. I don't know. Maybe if you just make Darby coach, it's cheaper.
This is going to be
Darby.
This is going to be real interesting because Bill Guerin's multi-year extension kicks in July 1st.
Right.
I wonder.
Craig's not going to be happy if he doesn't get that playoff money.
No, he won't be. But I think, man, are we sensing a common theme here that so much of what has happened and it's not even like it's
Vancouver's
not even the last couple of years.
Scott, Vancouver's paying Bruce Boudreau right now, so we're off the hook there.
It's just everything that has happened in the last calendar year.
Yeah. Well, the off-ice investigations, multiple. Yeah, it's just the front office has been in chaos too. That is not a good look, and they still don't have a contract guy either with O'Hearn gone. So
don't have an assistant GM.
Yeah, that is not ideal. And you look at, some teams have multiple assistant GMs, and yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and look at the entire organization is struggling. The Heartlanders, the Iowa Wild. Yeah, it's all around just crazy.
Me.
No. You'll regroup this summer. Maybe you can go on a retreat with Freddie and JoJo.
I'm gonna go do the
boys.
I'm gonna go do the darkness
workouts.
retreat and just get a full level of enlightenment and awakening as to how to fix what is currently going on. Because here's something that was tweeted out tonight too, that I 100% would not be surprised if it happens. Bill Guerin is going to do something to double this down in the offseason. And I'm not talking about like trading a vet to open up a spot for a prospect. I'm talking trading a prospect for a vet.
Right.
I think we are going to now start to see the things that happen when there's pressure on GMs is they start to do things that are detrimental to the future of the franchise for the sake of winning in the short term. And all of what we have seen could have been avoided had this team simply approached the end of this season as a pit stop, a natural stop to this ride. Because that's how it was lining up.
Right.
You didn't have extensions for Hartman, for Zuccarello, for Foligno, for Freddie Gaudreau. I know his was done during the season last year, but again, that falls in the same calendar year. You have, let's just run through the number of players that would have been free agents at the end of this season. Marc-Andre Fleury, Alex Goligoski, Zach Bogosian, Freddie Gaudreau, Marcus Johansson, Ryan Hartman, Matt Zuccarello, Marcus Foligno. It just felt like it was leading to a natural spot for this ride to stop and for you to decide fully on your next direction.
Well, instead,
Bill Guerin has just hoarded everything.
The scary thing is Dallas is young, Winnipeg is young, Colorado is young. I mean, so those are you're gonna have to, try. I mean, to make the playoffs going forward here, at least for the immediate future, it's wild card or bust really, because getting in that top three, it seems like it's going to be impossible. And Dallas is, they're just starting to, get in Stankoven and Wyatt Johnston, I mean, it's going to be daunting, and they have Ottinger for forever. He's not going anywhere, and Hellebuck's there for a while, and Colorado's going to have Nathan McKinnon, and it's just it's going to be daunting for sure to try to get in the top three.
I keep going back to how the Avs played. Look at how the Avs handled this season. I will grant you that having players like Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, having players like that in your top six makes it an easy,
beast.
Makes it an easy decision to retain those guys. But what did Colorado do at the trade deadline? So Ryan Johansson was not cutting it as a second line.
It was
center.
Horrible.
So they dumped him. They did, and Bowen Byram is not nothing.
Right.
That was a big piece that they gave up. Yeah. But they traded from an area of strength. They went out and they got Casey Middlestat.
An underrated move. Really underrated move.
Completely revamped their bottom six at the trade deadline, as opposed to having those be the guys that you lock in long term. You can find bottom six guys at the trade deadline.
Look at, they got Trennan from Nashville. They didn't have to get rid of him, but they did and gave him right to Colorado. And Colorado, another underrated move by them. They had getting Ross Colton from Tampa Bay and Miles Wood. I mean, they've put together a solid bottom six for sure. Hey, they're not as old as Pittsburgh, but yeah, it's
no, they're
it's
just they're one spot below that.
Yeah, which is crazy.
They are, I think, second, or no, maybe it's third, behind Washington.
Yeah,
third oldest.
They're way up there.
I don't know. If I were building a team, and clearly this is not correct because I'm here and not running an NHL franchise, I would look to retain and lock in a top six and cultivate your bottom six based off of what you need at that particular moment. Seems like the way a lot of teams do it.
Yeah.
And instead you got guys in Marcus Johansson or
he's always on the mind.
That's a Freudian slip. Matt Zuccarello is the exception. Matt Zuccarello is a second line guy,
right?
But Marcus Johansson's not. Freddie Gaudreau isn't. Marcus Foligno isn't. Ryan Hartman is a player that can hop up into a top six role in a pinch.
Right.
But he is not a top six guy.
He's more of a grinder. Yeah.
And you've locked in those guys and just expected that they're going to be able to play those spots. And so now you have no flexibility to move pieces around. No. You should, a word that should be in every general manager's vocabulary is flexibility.
Yeah, it's just, it's crazy. And they, these other teams around them, they are calling up guys at the right times, and just poor Wallstead getting his first game against Dallas in Dallas. That was a nightmare. And now it's been a horrible second half for the Iowa Wild too. And it's just, and now you're kind of stuck with Gus too, because who knows? He could be a 1-year wonder. It just, and you're hoping, if you can try to trade him this summer, I would definitely do it.
Yeah, Bowen Byram Bowen Byram's not nothing.
No,
but
Middlestead's a good player. He's just, he's going to thrive in Colorado. It's, and the reason surrounded by better players.
The reason the Avs did that is because they already have Cale Makar and Devon Taves.
Yeah, just
they're
loaded.
Reason they made that pick.
And they got more guys coming too on the back end. So it's,
I don't know. It's just
Byram does have head, concussion history too. So that, that's it could be a ticking time bomb there, but he's Buffalo's loaded on the back end now with him, Dahlin, and Power. That's a pretty good 1-2-3 punch there for sure. But Colorado, they were determined to try to win the cup this year, and so I think they would take Middlestead over Ryan Johansson all the way for sure. And Johansson might have to retire, which is crazy. Philly took him, and now they can't really do anything with him. It's just crazy. Yeah, it's a lot of people in the chat too are concerned with the Wild draft picks on the back end in Iowa. It's not good when you're not hearing anything about Lambos, O'Rourke. It's like,
well, it's a twofold thing. Is you are I was checking, and I'll get to the comments in a little bit. I had not looked at my phone in a lengthy amount of time, and I had like 50 Twitter notifications, some of which include John Hines and Matt Zuccarello quotes from after the game. So I'll read those here in a second, because
that'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's why I made the face that I'm sure I made. And now I completely forgot. Oh, it's a twofold approach. Is you can have a good evaluation of a prospect before they come into your system. But as we've talked about with the guys like Adam Beckman, like, you have to put them in positions to be able to succeed.
Right.
The Wild continue to expect that these rookies are going to be able to come in and fill spots that they need filled in the lineup, which so often, because again, no flexibility, are spots in the bottom of the lineup, third line, fourth line. Oh, just come in and play a fourth line role because we're just going to elevate somebody who's not a top 6 guy into a top 6 role. And so on one side of the coin, you can say Adam Beckman just is not that type of player. He hasn't shown anything to be deserving of a second line spot for a game or two. But you also have just closed that part of your mind off anyway and said, this is where we need him to be. Like, it is counterintuitive to prospect development and this is the same stuff that was going on with Chuck Fletcher too, is you draft players. You're not drafting for like, let's add a center to our pipeline. It's like, we need a third line wing. Let's draft one.
Right.
We need a third pairing defenseman. Let's draft one. Like, you just continue to pigeonhole, hoping that one of these players fits one of those spots. And if they don't, then they don't get opportunities because, well, we have such and such, and so we don't need something in that particular spot. Like, we've seen the cardiac minutes all season with guys like Freddie Gaudreau, with guys like Marcus Johansson. And yet the changes, we finally now are getting to the point where Marcus Johansson is starting to play more third line minutes. We're in game 70 of the season.
Yeah, you can't do that now. And there's never been any accountability either, which is weird. Both coaching head coaches, just
John Tortorella benched his captain,
who's been in the league for over a decade. Sean Couture's been there for a long time. Yeah,
he benched his captain. He told the media, he said, "These are the 20 guys that we're going to war with tonight. Mm-hmm. This is between me and Couturier. We talked about it. Said,
Philly won too, by the way.
This is the group that we're going to war with here tonight. And it's not going to be a multiple game situation. It's done to send a message, because the assumption needs to be that guys that are playing." And again, I'm gonna heap a little bit. I've come to this realization here recently. I think we have, for too much of the season, lumped Freddie Gaudreau and Marcus Johansson into the same category. I think what we're seeing is that Freddie Gaudreau was able to put points on the board as the third part of the two successful lines that he was on. He doesn't have a ton of offensive skill.
No.
What you see with him is what you get. Marcus Johansson is a completely different story, though, because you have so many games that you get that are just empty calories. It's like you're on a water diet.
Right. He's just floating out there on the ice. And the fact that he was on the ice in overtime the other night against St. Louis, I have no idea why he got, on 3-on-3, if you aren't going to shoot the puck, what are you doing out there in overtime? Because it's like you're playing 2-on-3 when he's out there. If he's out there for overtime, it's crazy. It's why is he on the power play too? It makes no sense.
Guess what, Kieran? It is 39 games now out of 70. 39 games out of 70 games that Marcus Johansson has recorded one shot or fewer. Oh, I stand corrected. Marcus Johansson has only played 36 games. So 39 out of 66 games, one shot or less.
And that man has a contract guaranteed for next year too. It's
and essentially
how is that supposed to get better? Yeah. And he's playing like it. He's playing like he's got no move. He's basically daring Guerin to buy him out, and I don't know if he wants to do another buyout. Same thing with Merrill too. They're playing like.
And how far have we come to where John Merrill has actually like climbed up the totem pole a little bit?
Right, he's back,
he's climbed up from the bottom of the Locked On Wild totem pole of shame. The flagpole of shame.
Johansson,
flagpole of shame is way
Johansson.
better.
There was they tag team in to take over who'd be worse.
He's climbed down from the top of the flagpole, and I think Marcus Johansson has that spot right now.
Yeah, the fact that Johansson has 27 points is great. It's like, how did he even get to that many?
No, but he may have 27, but again, I'm gonna hit with I'm bringing the heat tonight because of those quotes that I saw that, again, I'll get to here in just a second. But let's just go to January 1st. January 1st, new calendar year. Points for particular players. Marcus Johansson in 31 games since 2024 began. He has 7 points. Freddie Gaudreau has 5 in 32 games. Who else? Who else is on the wrong end of that stat? Vinny Lettieri has 3 points in 19 games. Jake Lucchini has 3 points in 27 games. Adam Beckman has 2 points in 5 games. Murat Huznadinov has 1 point in 4 games. What?
That's crazy. And you look at, like some of these guys in the NHL, they average 5 or 6 shots a game. It's crazy.
You want those numbers too?
Yeah.
Marcus Johansson in 31 games. 31 games. He has 35 total shots. 35 shots in 31 games. Freddie Gaudreau has 46 in 32, so he's started to
creep up a little bit.
He's started to raise the roof a little bit. But in that same span, Marco Rossi in 35 games, he has 71 shots. Zach Bogosian in 32 games has 48 shots. Jake Middleton has 43 shots. Jonas Brodin in 26 games, he's got 50 shots.
Shark Boy brings up a good point. He said at least Merrill scored last night. That's gonna be a trivia for in the future. Who did Husadinov get his first point from? And it was on a John Merrill goal. Who would have ever thought that's who Husadinov gets his first point on that type of a goal? That's crazy.
And I'm not even, because you're not like, unless you're the New York Rangers, and I talked about this within the last week, read that letter that the New York Rangers sent out to their fans. Teams are not going to do that. Like,
not anymore. That was an interesting move.
And so it's just frustrating that this team continues to insist that we take them seriously as a playoff contender that was another thing I was going to do tonight. I was going to go through all these show me games that have been just debilitating losses.
Oh, so, Shark Boy also said Gaudreau assisted on that goal. So John Merrill from Husadinov and Freddie Gaudreau. If you're an Anaheim Duck player, you might just end the franchise hearing that three player combo on a goal.
I'm gonna need a minute.
Oh man, thank you, Shark Boy. That was good stuff.
Okay, so, and the funny thing too is Joe O'Donnell tweeted John Hines' record since he took over, And I think it's 20.
John Hines has never won a playoff game. Series. They've never won a play. They've never won a playoff series with any of the teams that he's coached. And that's who Bill Guerin gave a 3-year deal to. It's crazy. He didn't interview anybody else. They're like, hey, we'll give John Hines 3 years. He just got fired by Nashville because Nashville couldn't stand him. It's insane. I'm sure everybody else. Yeah, Dean never won one either.
That was too much.
You go from Dean to John Hines, who they've never won a playoff series. It's crazy.
That was too much.
The recycle, it works for some teams, but recycling is not. We don't recycle in Minnesota well. It's end recycling. I got a 10 for pushing you off.
When I tell you, I almost yelled so MFing loud when you said that he had never won a postseason series, but then I realized it's 1:15 in the morning.
Right. What is my neighbor doing? He's he's getting mad at our coaches never winning a playoff series.
Misery loves company, because guess what? Dean did the same thing.
Oh, man. Shark Boy goes, Waste Management is one of the team's biggest sponsors.
In reality, whether this is Craig Leopold's fault for holding this team to a have to make the playoffs standard, or Bill Guerin for believing that it was possible under these constraints, I think there is equal blame on both sides, because again, we just were pushing towards, it'd be like me running a 5K, 2.5K in, I would get to the point where I'd be like, I'm going to stop and I'm going to try to catch my breath for 9 days.
Thanks, Karen.
And like, I wouldn't just keep running. There was a natural jumping off point after this season. And you can tell those guys, you can tell Matt Zuccarello, you can tell Marcus Foligno, you can tell Ryan Hartman, if you guys want to come back, that's going to depend entirely on how things go. And maybe if you don't go 5-14 to start the season, maybe if you don't go 1-7-1 in January, in that January stretch,
it was panic buying.
Maybe if you don't get blown off the ice by the Los Angeles Kings, maybe it ends up differently. And if not, if you're in a similar situation and you lose those few games before the trade deadline, and it's not even about the return, it's about freeing up the spots.
And even if these are his guys, who else was going to sign him at the end of the year too? Depending on how this season was going to go, it's not like they have a hot market. And
what sort of message are you sending in building around a leadership group that has never won a playoff series? It's one thing, and we've talked about this before. It's one thing if you're trying to retain the Tampa Bay Lightning, who went to 4 straight Stanley Cups, or 3 in 5 years, or something like that.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you're trying to retain those guys, like, by all means do that.
Right.
It's one thing if you're trying to retain the top 6 of the Colorado Avalanche. It's one thing if you're trying to retain the Winnipeg Jets or the Dallas Stars. But they are starting to build the pedigree. Maybe Winnipeg, maybe not so much, but you are retaining so desperately a group that is capable of beating backup goalies, beating teams on the second night of a back-to-back. And I know I'm oversimplifying, but let's think about this. How many different variables are there in the regular season? backup goalies, playing teams on the second night of a back-to-back, playing teams with a rash of injuries, playing bad teams. You can claw through all of that and get yourself to the playoffs. But I think we've seen over the last 10 seasons, what is it now? It's 8 straight first-round playoff losses, right?
Yeah, and Chicago was a bunch of them. The weirdest one was the bubble against Vancouver. Remember that series? That was what a different world that was. You had Fiala taking dumb penalties. Travis Green was the coach of the Canucks. Yeah, that was the bubble was just something else. Toffoli on there. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's the standard though. Yeah, 2014, 2015 was the last playoff series win for the Minnesota Wild, but like they have retained every bit. And look, we can be critical.
Oh my God, Shark Boy. Read his comment. Oh my God. Oh man. Oh, now all you hear of is him on police dashboard cams. Oh man.
Wow.
Man.
I'm about at my wit's end here.
What a stream
though.
This franchise though. You have guys like that are part of the history. It's you can't make it up.
And we can be critical while also acknowledging that there are good players on this team.
Yeah, and the prospects are coming. Yurov's coming. Ogren's coming. I mean, they have some talent. I mean, Stramel was a complete whiff. I mean, I think we could throw Seth out there and he'd get more points than Charlie Stramel. I don't know what's Gabe Perreault he could win a Hobie Baker. It's crazy. It's just that was a complete swing and a miss. I have no idea what that was. If Stramel was in this draft, he might go undrafted. It's crazy.
Oof. Yeah, this is another reason too that we need to wash away the first round exits so that you can punch through that ceiling. Like, in order to, why do we fall? So we can learn to pick ourselves back up. Well, the Wild are pretty good at falling right now. So I don't know. Like, and we know how this is going to go too. Mm-hmm. Like, I can sit here and declare that I hope that the chase for the playoffs is over. And you'll hear the same thing from Jesse Pierce. You'll hear the same thing from Judd Zolgad. You'll hear the same thing from, a bunch of the other podcasts. We all have been pretty lockstep with things this season. We all know how this is going to go until the point in which this team is mathematically eliminated from the postseason. We're just going to continue to do this over and over and over again because what do the Wild have coming up? They play St. Louis on Saturday, then San Jose on Thursday. And here's the thing that Russo tweeted out tonight.
Oh, also, Anita said, don't forget the Discord info before you fall over.
Before I get derailed out of my chair. Yes,
yeah.
Good call. Thank you, Anita. The thing that Russo tweeted out tonight that is also true is that while you're not playing, all these other teams are. And so you're going to fall even further behind.
Can you read Jeremy's comment?
Thursday.
The most recent one. He's saying Charlie Stramel will be an SPHL legend. The Southern Professional Hockey League.
We had more of a showing tonight in the postcast than the Wild did in the game tonight. So everybody, please feel good about the fact that
we're talking about draft picks that will never maybe end up in the organization.
Somebody is going to create like a number of times that Seth almost falls out of his chair counter for upcoming postcasts. Although I got to say that
Seth and I have a good time.
The one just completely nearly derailed me. Like John Hines not having won a playoff series before was like
Alex Galchenyuk. Yeah.
But hey, we continue to do this every game. We'll do this again on Saturday. We'll do this again on Thursday. We'll do this again on the 30th. April 2nd, we will not. Although that's for a good reason, because the Locked On Senators boys are actually coming to the XL Energy Center for that game against Ottawa. And so I haven't done this since I took over as host of Locked On Wild. I'm actually going to the Ottawa Senators game as a fan. I have not done that since taking over this show. It's been every game that I've gone to has been in a media capacity. And so that'll end up being the one that they get mathematically eliminated in. But no, well, I don't know. We'll see. It's almost 1:30.
It's my birthday on Friday. I hope.
Well, there we go.
I hope the Wild can win on Saturday as a birthday present. That'd be nice.
It'd be nice to actually beat St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, just when they were begging the Wild to beat them in overtime the other night, when Matt Boldy it was crazy. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think
let's hire a guy. Let's not interview anybody else and bring John Hines. Not only give him 1 year, let's give him 3 years. Yeah, that
3 years that we know of.
Yeah, that we know. Who knows? It could be more. Locked On SPHL. The Charlie Stramel podcast.
Oh my god! All right, let's take this to Discord. So what I'll do here, I'll do this here, and then I'll do this in the comment section too, or the description of this episode. Here is the invite to join the Discord server. Oh, and of course that comes through on both show accounts. But
there it is, Anita.
That's the link to hop in the Discord server. I will put it in the description for this video too, so you can check that out on the Locked On Wild YouTube channel, and we'll put that in episodes going forward. So if you miss it here, I'll make sure to mention it in future episodes. So I think we're gonna leave it at that. It's amazing that we found a way to go 68 minutes.
Thanks, Kieran. Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for everybody contributing in the comments.
We almost went as long as the Wild get called for penalty minutes tonight. Just about. But hey, we went the full 60 minutes.
Thanks, Shark Boy. Yes.
I had to. Yeah, I think that's about all I got.
Thanks, everybody.
Yikes. Just a 6-0 dog walk.
National TV.
On national television. Feels just great. So appreciate everybody hopping in here tonight. Again, we can continue the conversation if you'd like on Discord. We'll build that up as we go, and we'll be with you throughout the rest of the week too. I'm going to try to formulate some sort of an episode idea for tomorrow. I think I have a fun one for this week to just take us away from this for a day. So we'll do that. Again, make sure to hit the like button before you head out here for today, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes or any future postcasts as well. Minnesota Wild
Shark Boys
are hanging on for dear life. They're on life support. And so we'll see where the rest of the week takes them, and we've got you covered as we move through the rest of the season here on Locked On Wild. You can find new episodes every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.